Good afternoon to all present and to all viewing and listening remotely. I'd like to say a special good afternoon to our media partners here this afternoon. I am Munifa Brathwaite, the Public Information Officer for the Virgin Islands Port Authority. I'm pleased to welcome you to a joint press conference hosted by the Virgin Islands Port Authority, Cruise Terminals International, and Royal Caribbean Group. Today, representatives from these three entities will share progress on their partnership, which is focused on revitalizing and elevating the cruise ports managed by the Virgin Islands Port Authority in the U.S. Virgin Islands. This initiative is aimed at maintaining the territory's position as a premier cruise destination. Speaking on behalf of Royal Caribbean Group, we have Mr. Joshua Carroll. He is the Vice President of Destination Development. Then we will have remarks from Mr. Khaled Naja. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Cruise Terminals International, and he'll be followed by Mr. Carlton Dowe, the Executive Director for the Virgin Islands Port Authority. I would also like to recognize VIPA's board members before we begin. Before we start, the chairman is Mr. Willard John, who unfortunately is not able to be here with us today. We have the Vice Chairman and Commissioner of Public Works, the Honorable Derek Gabriel, seated here to my right. Board Secretary and Chairman of the Economic Development Authority, Mr. Kevin Rodriguez. Attorney General, the Honorable Ariel Smith, Esquire. Tourism Commissioner, the Honorable Joseph Bushelta. Former Senator Celestino A. White Sr., Representative of St. Thomas, and Mrs. Leona A. Smith. She represents the island of St. John. I'd also like to recognize those here with us from Royal Caribbean Group. We have Mrs. Melissa Morales, Mrs. Wendy McDonald, Mrs. Katrina Rodriguez, James Stinwinchi. I tried. Mr. Andres Vidal and Jeff Wyatt of CTI. Before we conclude today's press conference, we will allow the press to ask questions. We ask you to please identify yourself by your name and the agency that you represent. And with that being said, I will now turn the mic over to Mr. Joshua Carroll from Royal Caribbean Group.
Thank you. You know, they say save the best for last. I don't know what that means when you're first, but okay. It's a privilege to be here. My first time in St. Thomas was in 2017, right after the hurricanes Irma and Maria, where we worked together with the Virgin Island Port Authority and the local community to rebuild Megan's Bay so we could reopen the cruise industry. And I was right here on this port. We actually arrived for the first time back into St. Thomas. It was on a ship called Adventure of the Seas, which is significantly smaller than the one we have here, to re-welcome and bring back cruise tourism after several months of not having operation. Since then, St. Thomas has held a really special place for me. I also have the privilege of leading our deployment and itinerary planning, where we've increased our volume to St. Thomas. We've more than tripled our volume to St. Croix, with another increase coming next year. And our commitment through our deployment and our guest visits to the destinations are critically important to us. When I look at this ship here, this is actually Wonder of the Seas. It's the biggest cruise ship on Earth. We've held up to 7,000 guests on this ship. What's really exciting, I don't know that a lot of folks know this, but I'll remind you, or let you know now, inform you. So we have a brand new ship called Icon of the Seas that is being delivered in January of next year. Icon will now become the newest, largest, most innovative ship in the world. It'll hold over 7,000 passengers, up to about 7,500. And on its very first cruise with guests, it'll be coming here and visiting St. Thomas. We'll be, I'm sure Mr. Dow will enjoy to put on a press conference for us at that opportunity, and we're looking forward to being here and being together with you all to celebrate that. You know, there's only a handful of ports in the world that are going to have that ship visiting them with really the most iconic, innovative attractions on a cruise ship that exist. And we're extremely excited to be able to do that. That brings us into the development that we're partnered on CTI and with the Virgin Island Port Authority. That's going to allow us to really elevate, expand, and revitalize this entire area. Today, there's about 8 acres that guests are able to enjoy. It'll expand to 25 acres for the industry. Guests from every cruise line we're hoping will visit here. And additionally, we'll be building an additional berth behind here where another Icon ship will be able to come. It'll basically double the capacity of the port as we expand some of the existing infrastructure, and then we're able to build the new one. So our commitment to the USVI is profound. We're extremely excited and appreciative of the partnership and the opportunity, and we very much look forward to growing together responsibly as we look to the future with one another. Thank you all.
Good afternoon. My name is Khaled Naja. I'm the CEO of Cruise Terminals International. I just want to share that I've been coming to St. Thomas for 23 years. The first time was the year 2000. It was a very special moment from a personal perspective, and I just absolutely love this town, this island, and so I'm thrilled to be here today with you all. As far as my company, CTI is a strategic partnership between Royal Caribbean Group as well as Icon Infrastructure to develop and operate cruise port infrastructure worldwide to deliver industry-leading cruise terminals that will offer the best guest experience. As far as today, we're just very excited to introduce Cruise Terminals International and expand this partnership with the U.S. Virgin Islands to facilitate the revitalization of the subbase, Crown Bay area, as well as the port's operation that Josh was just referring to. Thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you and good afternoon. You sound like nobody out there. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
What you have going in your favor today is all these fine men and women from RCL and CTI. It's your shot, they were. It's a plane they got to catch. As a matter of fact, they could leave out on the cruise and take them right back to Miami. But on behalf of the Virgin Islands Port Authority, I bring you greetings. I'm glad to be here. This is an interesting and fantastic day. As one of my former colleagues would say, it's a fantastic day today. But before I get started, I want to just recognize a few people. The board had been duly recognized previously. But I want to recognize, interestingly enough, the brand new Commissioner of Property and Procurement, a very good friend, used to be an employee at the port. Stand up and be recognized again, Miss Lisa Alejandro. Put your hands together. Yeah, thanks. Man, I clap a little louder for Miss Alejandro, no, man. I also want to recognize Mr. Vincent Richards. Vince, I think I saw him someplace. Vince. Please stand up so that people could see you, Vince. Please. Thanks. The newly appointed Assistant Commissioner. Thanks. I clap louder. Because all this discussion we're having at the port and how we're going to develop down here cannot be possible without those two gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen in particular. So clap for them again. I also want to recognize the fine staff of the Virgin Islands Port Authority. Please stand and be recognized, all of you. I want to just bring some quick perspective, and this one here doing exactly what Chucky would have done, walking late so that we could see him. I clap for Calvert White. my late colleague, that's exactly how she would have done it. But from in 2016, we started to forge a partnership with Royal Caribbean and do some exciting things with them. We had some announcements previously. So RCL and CTI, the partnership that we're talking about, is primarily so that we could develop and enhance these facilities. No one in the world, or the Caribbean for that matter, is sitting back and waiting on the U.S. Virgin Islands. We must move along with the time and be ahead of others in the world and in the Caribbean. The way we're going to get there, though, and I want to make a couple things abundantly clear, is that we've got to do this through a public-private partnership. And I just continue to say to this community that there is no bad word, there's nothing foreign, nothing strange about public-private partnership where everybody, the private entity wins, the government of the Virgin Islands wins, and of course the Port Authority wins, which means the entire community wins. People come on these ships from time to time, and you know what? A large percentage of who comes to St. Thomas, they are repeat visitors, repeat guests. They like it, we're coming back. Except though they make a decision as to whether or not today they're going to come off of the ship or they're going to stay on board. We've got to develop things right in the territory, and Croix Bay will be the lead in that, to make sure that the greatest percentage of the people that comes in to the territory on cruise ship, that in fact come off of the ship. They're only going to come off when there are other opportunities and destination and creation that they really want to see or really want to participate in. We can't do these developments and as we go forward and don't think about the local community or the impact. And that is why all these small folks, the mechanics and the likes, who do business, they operate in Croix Bay. We're not doing this in some vacuum and saying you just leave and that's it. We're taking all these things into consideration. We want to make sure, as I was reminded earlier today, we want to make sure that the people of this territory will always have access to these properties. I'm looking at the AG on this one, I don't know why. But another interesting thing we want to say to this community today is that partnership can't only be in good times. Partnership must also be in the rocky times. And I want us to recognize during the hurricanes what happened here. Place was devastated, all of us know. Megan's Bay turned right upside down. We've never seen a beach or the properties like that before. It wasn't FEMA, it wasn't all these other folks. But it was Royal Caribbean, based on a commitment they made to this territory, was first in with their vessels, their employees, their crew, and contracting local heavy equipment operators and contracting local folks to restore and get Megan's Bay ready to go so that we be the first around to accept cruise travel again. I want you to put your hands together for Royal Caribbean. We do have some property that we expect to develop away from here, and so we'll talk about that at a later time. But in the true spirit of partnership, just recently our board acted. We've been meeting for months and months and months with both Khalid and Josh, Lisa, the whole crew, every one of them, discussing how we are going to move forward with development, dredging, and all these things we want to do. All of us should know by now, in St. Croix was seeing 40,000 passengers annually because of our relationship and the commitment that Royal had made to us. Last year we saw over 150,000 passengers into St. Croix. And we expect to see that in the future. So our board, along with Royal, we agree that there'll be a $5 additional charge away from the regular tariff. Let me say that again. I want to make it abundantly clear. There will be, come January, a $5 additional fee for passengers, mind you, coming into St. Thomas and Royal vessels and going into Frederiksted and Royal vessels. That's important. It's important because these discussions are never easy, but they are discussions that we must have. And as a result, with that additional $5 for those reasons, we will see the pre-development, which means we have to relocate folks. We will see dredging opportunities here in Crown Bay area. We also will see a third pier later on so that we could continue to grow. And so these things have to be paid for. So for anyone to believe that the Port Authority have some deep pocket and they are the ones who should do it, it don't work like that. We've got to do this together. And the fact that our governing body and Royal Caribbean and CTI didn't fight us, didn't create a war, but reasonable people was able to sit in a room and have a reasonable conversation. So I really want to publicly thank them, both Royal and CTI, for their agreement with us and our governing body. When we did the first $5 arrangement about a month ago, man, the place light up. All kind of phone calls. Mr. What are you doing? I gonna run the cruise ship. Them they ain't coming back. Some would say we're long overdue. It depends on who you talk to. But I want the whole public and all of us to recognize that the Port Authority don't do these things in a vacuum. It's called partnership. And it's because we consulted with each other. I tell people all the time, we don't have to always agree. Reasonable people disagree all the time. But it don't mean that we must become enemies and disagreeable. But there are certain basic principles of fairness. The port can't do this alone. And once again, I really sincerely, Khalid and Josh and the whole crew with Royal and CTI, to tell you from the Port Authority standpoint, we do appreciate the partnership and the willingness to go forward with us. Now, I also want to dispel, and I use this opportunity, we have the whole world. We have our own CNN, our own MSNBC, and sometimes on the radio we have Fox. But they're all here nonetheless. But what we want to say is that I like to use this opportunity to dispel some of what is fed to just the same 5 people in this community. And that is this. Florida, as we know it, don't make the bulk of the money from oranges, tangerine, and grapefruit. Florida make the bulk of their money from tourism. So when people tell you why we're doing this or why not do that, we must recognize in this territory what really pays the bills. And tourism, whether by sea or by air, that's what pays the bills here. So we have to start pushing back on the one or two who would make these kind of comments. Bad things happen when good people stay quiet. So the reason we're trying to grow and build on what we're doing here and the relationship and the partnership is so that we can enhance our product. An enhanced product means just stop, look. And we made sure Munifa is the best and Julius. Them ladies like the optics. They say, boss, we ain't doing this in our office. We coming out on the pier and the port. You know why? Because as we speaking today and you look over there across the water, you seen tour boat operators. Several of them left earlier. They'll be taking folks to St. John all over this place. That's what you're seeing over there. You're seeing commerce at its best. People making a living. And then when you look a little further and you see all the vans and the safari, those people are working. And so the tour operators, people working, going to different destinations and venues on this island, it means that things are stirring. It means that people in the restaurant are making money. It means that people in the stores are see Pasha. I tell Pasha good afternoon, wave Pash. Man, stand up, Pash. You don't miss nothing. Hey, good to have you. Pash is one of the long-term store owners. Been all over Croix Airport, all over the place. That's Senator White's favorite friend. I also want to recognize the president of the Senator White. He's back there, standing next to his son. Man, I clap for Senator White. So the local, that's the 16th senator of the legislature, James Lewis. So all these other things is a spin-off from what we do and what we see here. So I want to remind all of us, whatever we do, recognize that in this development we're talking about, there are architects, engineers, consultants, environmental folks, people diving in the water, doing all these things. Means things are happening. And at the same time, there's major construction to be had. And so construction is all a part of this. But I want to take 2 minutes and go over to St. Croix. Because it's not enough to tell you that we increase the traffic in St. Croix. Melissa and her folks, they've been around in St. Croix, meeting with folks. They have a class going on now that they are certifying to assist taxi drivers in St. Croix. And make no mistake, they want to bring more people to St. Croix too. And so part of this $5 that we're going to collect in St. Croix would go to dredging in St. Croix so that St. Croix for the first time could really accommodate larger vessels going into St. Croix. That's what we expect to do with this $5. So everyone must participate in our growth. And as I wrap up, I can't forget Larry. Larry Wade back there. That's Larry Belinsky, our financial advisor. And all the staff that works at the Port Authority. But we're going to continue and press on, and we're going to have disagreements along the way. But at the end of the day, we must make decisions that's in the best interest of this territory and the children yet not born. That's the decision we're faced with every day. So once again, Khalid, on behalf of the Virgin Islands Port Authority and Josh, boy, I tell you, these guys ain't easy, you see them. They're sitting down quiet, you know, they ain't easy. Give it up for Josh and Khalid again, man. I love working with them. I love working with them. What I like about the cruise line, they study everything, folks. When I tell you they study everything, they don't miss. They heard that St. Croix have like a Hispanic kind of population. So they told us we bring in Melissa. So they brought Melissa. Man, give it up for Melissa, please. And then later on, in our discussion, it says, you know, in the Virgin Islands, man, we have so much Caribbean people from all over. They have people in St. Thomas from Trinidad all over. When we look, they bring a lady, tell us, well, this is Windy, she from Port-au-Prince. Stand up, Windy. Stand up and be recognized, man. So they were able to bring people from all about. Then we say they're further down in Latin America. They tell me we have some guy, they brought a legal counsel, and I call him Andres. They say no, it's Andres. So stand up, Andres. You know, Andres. Incidentally, my wife teaches Spanish, so I don't know much. But I want to take 2 minutes and also recognize the acting chair of our governing body, also the Commissioner of Public Works. I think he should come and say something for 2 minutes. Mr. Well, I can't tell the board how long to talk, but, and you know, put your hands together. Before we go into our rounds of media questioning, I'd like the chair of the board, acting chair of the board, Mr. Gabriel, to say a few words. Thanks.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to ask you guys to please give a round of applause for the man whose vision that we are really realizing today, which is our Executive Director, Mr. Carlton Dowe. Please. I think, so for us as a governing board, you have to have vision and you have to be able to buy into that vision pretty early on, right? And I think anybody that knows this gentleman to my right knows that his vision is pretty audacious every single time he brings it up. And we look at him and we're like, no way, can be done. But as we go through these exercises and as we meet with our partners, as we talk to people like Royal Caribbean, CTI, as we speak to our partners on the airline side, we realize that his vision is grounded in actual truth and facts. And we realize that as we want to continue to be the leaders in our region, we must continue to step out on a ledge and to take those chances. Calculated risk, but always take those chances to continue to grow our tourism product. As a board member, I am truly proud, but even more so as a commissioner of the Department of Public Works, I'm happy to be your neighbor right over there. We will always support the development. Our folks are fantastically looking forward to some great food and some great experiences, but more importantly, we're looking forward to the continued expansion of our tourism product. So I just want to thank our fellow governing board members. Of course, this gentleman makes us work very hard, but it's always worth it. I want to thank all of our partners, government, private, public, nonprofit, and of course, I want to thank our newest family members, CTI and Royal Caribbean. Thank you for doubling down on your commitment, and we look forward to the continued expansion of our product.
All right, thank you. We now invite the press to ask any questions that you may have concerning the partnership between the Port Authority, Cruise Terminals International, and Royal Caribbean Group. We ask that you identify yourself by your name and your media agency before you ask your question, please. There's a microphone being passed around by the gentleman. Mr. Rosario,
Hi, good afternoon.
please speak up and stand.
Okay.
Stand. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Shan Cobb with The Source, and I wonder, do you have a timeline for when this is going to start? Okay.
Pick it up.
Okay. So in many ways, it's already started. With the agreement we made with the Port Authority for some time now, we've been having divers go in the water, doing surveys, etc. For the next year or so, that type of work is going to continue. The pre-development phase is what we call it. Then coming into 2024 through 2025, that's when we'll start seeing activity. It needs to go thoughtfully in different stages and phases because we don't want to disrupt the existing operation here. And then there's other elements such as the third berth we talked about that have much longer lead times when you have Army Corps permits and other more complicated approvals. But ultimately, starting around the end of next year through 2027, 2028 is when you'll see all of the construction work happening in different phases.
And can I ask, what are some of the features going to be that you're going to be building?
So we always try to strike a great balance between, we want this to be a place where our guests come, but they don't stay too long because we want them to get out to other attractions and other locations in the community. You'll see that we are contemplating something that we're calling a day resort, which is an area where it'll only handle several hundred people, at most around 1,000 of the close to 20,000 that can be in the port at one point in time, open to the industry. But then you'll see more, we're very focused on bringing in the local community so that our guests can experience local attractions. But you'll also see expansions of an additional shore excursion dock, for example, more space and more ground transportation, logistics to be able to get people off the ships and then out throughout the community.
And I just want to make it clear that come January, this ain't some far away, and I'm glad that Josh indicated, this process started already, the horse out the gate. And so we expect that this was a lot of dialogue that went on before we could be here today. But the $5 collection, because we're so serious about starting this, Royal Caribbean and our partners have agreed that this January coming would be the beginning of the $5 to allow us to start to do these things.
Also, Director Dowe, you mentioned the relocation of some businesses that are here, you know, that the small ones. Where will they go?
Okay. Well, let me help you with where they'll go, then I'll let Khaled answer some of that too. But the Port Authority, in our vision collectively, we had purchased some properties several years ago right next to Moravian Church. When you're going back there, the port owns about 3 acres of that land. And that's the vision that we had, knowing that at some point, if anything unfolds, that's the property that we would have to look to. So we expect that in this relationship, that there will be some monies that will be set aside very early on so that all those folks can be relocated. And I just want to make another thing clear is that just similar to the airport, we're going to be doing construction in an active facility. We don't expect to shut it down. That brings challenges, and sometimes it brings us some time in terms of which we can execute. But Khaled, I'll allow you to answer as well.
Yeah, I just want to share that the first meeting we've had with the Virgin Island Port Authority, there's been serious conversations about the local relocation and how sensitive it is for Mr. Dowe as well as for the entire Virgin Island Port Authority to ensure that we're taking care of the local communities with utmost support and care. So that's something that's very important for us.
Thank you. And sorry, one last question. Do you have a cost for this? What is the proposed budget?
I believe I need to turn to my left at this point.
Yeah. So there's multiple components. When all put together, the entire development will be around $250 million.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Sean. You're just like honest. Like I asked a million questions. Sheldon Turnbull, 107.9 FM The Vibe. You made reference to the pre-development, and that was one of the key questions I had to ask as well. Where would these businesses be placed? But when you talk about the new pier and the ship coming in and the development of that, you have a timeline as to how long or when that will actually take place, begin, when we probably, is it 5-10 years from now?
No, it won't be. It won't be that long, but it takes about 1.5 to 2 years to get all of the permits and approvals necessary. That process has already started, but we're very short into it. By around 2027 or 2028 is when we expect to have that additional berth up and running with a third ship being able to be accommodated.
Okay. As you reference to the area that's closest to the existing port right now, and Sean asked about the different type of developments, how do you foresee incorporating some of the local businesses into that mix? How is that management going to take place? How do you incorporating that?
Sure. They will have the first opportunity. For example, we have I can't name who yet, but we have a local rum distillery whom we're working with to create a distillery product within the facility. But our goal, and we always give first opportunity to any local businesses to come in. At some point, there will be some likely international brands that come in order to have a well-rounded offering, but it's always our practice that the first group that are able to come are always local businesses and local entrepreneurs, and then we fill in the rest with what's not filled by them.
And my final question, as you look at it and you talk about these different developments and businesses, how would somebody be able to contact you? Because I don't know what the design would be. Is it going to be a mall structure? Is it going to be single buildings? How would somebody be able to show that interest that they would like to be a part or get involved in the planning?
Certainly. So as we progress in the pre-design and are able to really define, it'll be a mixture of what you're describing. So there'll be from very small kiosks up to large stores. We'll come, and we actually started during the pandemic. We were doing small business forums where we came and had conversations and dialogue with the business community. We'll restart those once again, once we're in a position that we have a very clear understanding of the amount of square footage that we're looking to fill, and we'll make it very, very easy for businesses to come and work directly with the developing company to participate.
Thank you.
Along that same line, I want to make clear that over a series of years, the Port Authority paid for some studies, the Port Authority paid for a charrette, bring folks down here, interview people in the territory, store not everybody in the community, and allow for that input. But until a final version, you know what? You need to stand up and let the people see who you are. Stand up, please. Say something to the people, man, and tell them what you do. What you do.
James Donacy. I'm doing design and construction for Royal Caribbean Destination Development Team. So I've spent a great deal of time here talking with folks, working with our PR person Lorna to really get to know the community. And I think most of everything has been discussed, but there's going to be the perfect balance of small business, large business, but more importantly, safety and also enabling the waterfront. So right now, the waterfront's kind of hidden and tucked away. A big part of what we're doing is going to make it open to everybody in the community, allow them to walk through, experience it, and get close to it. So that's also another aspect of the project that we're factoring into the process.
other questions? So we good? That's good. They say they don't have any more questions. That's a good thing. So I want to take one last opportunity, just not only thanking the staff of the Port Authority or governing board members, but you in the media as well. Because it's very important that you hear firsthand what we're doing, blow for blow, what we're thinking, what we're contemplating. So if something you think about later on, you could always contact Munifa, or you contact Munifa, you know how to find the rest of us. But that's important, so that now you are the media and you hear, if you know better, say better when the time comes. I also want to recognize the governor couldn't be here. He had some crisis, he had some emergencies that he attending to, but clearly he's always normally around. But I want to tell you that he sent his best wishes, and we expect that as we move forward, we have some stuff to do later on, that he'll definitely be a part on behalf of the governor. I see that his administrator is there. Wave. That's the administrator of St. Thomas and St. Thomas, right? Water Island too? You asked White about Water Island. But on behalf of the Governor of Port Authority, we really sincerely thank each and every one of you for coming. I want to thank our media partners, and especially I'm asking to put your hands together for Josh. Put your hands together for Josh. Khaled. Man, I clap loud. You know what he come with? I clap louder for Khaled. Good. Wendy, please stand and again be recognized. That's Wendy. Andres, I ain't forget. Please stand. I don't call his last name. You stand up. We'll call him James. How could I forget Melissa? Please stand. And Katrina. Who else? Oh, yeah. Listen, I clap loud. Jeff, stand up a little longer. This is Jeff. I'd like all of you to please come up. Please come. And maybe we could move this podium from here. No, I like it. No. Just a little bit. And this is your opportunity, folks, media. Folks, I want to recognize Jerome Sheridan. That's the airport manager, and he can't wait for the P3. So that's it. And Senator White, come board members who sign my check, please come. Leona, where are you? Avery, come. Anybody else?